We don't usually hear people born out of rape speaking out. We've all in some way or another heard of or come across rape victims. Even worse, you may be a rape victim yourself. But here in the heart of Durban, in Tuzuma, there's a bold and young 25-year-old man who is a product of rape. Meet Celo Mncube.
My name is Celo Mncube, the young boy who grew up in a place called Tuzuma, near KwaMashu. So I was raised by a single parent. My mother is Busisiwe Mncube. So I was born and bred in Tuzuma, grew up there. I did my primary school from grade 0 to grade 7 here in Tuzuma.
He remembers the childhood memories he created in and around his neighborhood.
This road, we were playing soccer here. We used to play teams here, shumpu and all of those things. We play cricket on this because there is a ground over the street. We used to go there to play bigger games. We'll start with smaller games here and then go play bigger games at the playground. But this house now, I've got all memories of my childhood here because we'll just go and fetch umoba, a cane, sugar cane, and then we'll eat sugar cane whilst playing around the yard, and stuff. But because as you see, there are a lot of flowers, so we'll sometimes do the garden and nurture the flowers. That's what we are doing when my mother was alive.
A very active and cheerful childhood. However, life became even more real when it dawned to him that he wouldn't be studying beyond matric.
I have only matric, I couldn't further my studies due to the fact that by that time life was so hard in a way that I couldn't pay my fees, I couldn't afford finance, and I couldn't even brought up good documents that will make me to get a student loan and everything that NSFAS, by that particular time. So I said to myself, because I cannot afford to go to varsity, maybe let me just find out what I'm good at as a talent-wise,
Just at the beginning of his high school career, tragedy happened.
My mother passed away January 16. By that time, we were visiting our mother's friend, at Durban North. So we came back, we found her sleeping on bed, and that moment was a painful moment because the kind of a sickness my mother had, I can't even describe it or tell what kind of sickness she had, because at some point she found herself going crazy, and not knowing, banging the gates, wanting to go out, and run away, So she ended up being on bed for the rest of her days, I was 14, 2006. My other sister was 13. The younger one was 4 years old. Tomorrow, it was the day of opening for us to go to school because I was going to my high school level, grade 8. And then we were told that my mother is no more. She died, And because it was very painful because I experienced death through my mother.
The only way to pour the perfect beer, this professional barman would tell you, is into a glass tilted at exactly 45 degrees. Oh, bless you. Bless you, sir. Bless you again. Well, we'd say the perfect way to pour a beer is at this angle, straight into your mouth.
Get a 12-pack of Heineken Premium Lager cans for only $129.99 from Tops at Spar.
It is 5 p.m. Central African Time, broadcasting live from Johannesburg. This is PM News. Mugabe is wanted in South Africa on a charge of assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm. Mugabe allegedly assaulted local model Gabriela Engels with an extension cord.
If the minister has granted the First Lady diplomatic immunity, then it then means that she will not be prosecuted.
There will now be 16 countries that form part of SADC. The Comoros was added as a member state during this summit. New Zealand rugby great Sir Colin Meads has passed away at the age of 81 following the battle with the pancreatic cancer. In 1999, Meads was named New Zealand's greatest rugby player of the 20th century. This year, a bronze statue of Meads was unveiled in his hometown of Te Kuti.
Stay tuned to PM News for all your news updates every Saturday and Sunday from 1500 hours.
After Stelo lost his mother, him and his siblings had to move to Umlazi, and life became even more tougher.
Moving out was very difficult because we didn't know where to go. We found it hard to start a new life in a new place, you know. So it was very difficult.
And just when he thought life was becoming kinder to him, it took another shift.
Unfortunately, June 2007, my mother's sister moved to Eastern Cape because she married to a guy who lived in Eastern Cape. But they didn't tell us that they've sold the house, you know. So we just saw people coming in with the van full of things, you know. Then they told us, no, this is the place that we've bought. You may call your aunt. She will tell you that we've bought the place, you know. So my sister moved to their father's place because they had their fathers. I had no father. So I found myself stranded in a way that I said no, because I'm at school. I cannot just drop out again. I will see what I do, you know. I was like person who say, I will see what I do. And then I found myself living in the street. The first day I said, no, I will sort out this issue maybe the other day, you know. And then I slept on the street, woke up, went to school. I didn't share the situation with anybody. I came back and I even said, no, I will sort this later. So the days were going until in a way that a week passed with me living in the street, because number one, I didn't have a phone that time. I didn't have somebody to talk to. I didn't have anybody. So that's where I found myself living on the street.
The streets then became his home.
6 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night, it's just like 3 days, because even if on a rainy day, it's just like 3 days, because and hours go slowly, you know. So it's a painful moment, but what made me to stand, even if it was painful living on the street, it because I found a place, I found a garage there, you know, and then I found a guy who is a taxi driver. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, January. He was a taxi driver, and he said, I always see you around this garage. Where are you living? And I told him that, no, I don't have a place to live. And he said, you look like you're not a hobo. You're not just like all other street kids. Because you go to school. I see that you've hung your school clothes on the fence there. Now tell me about that. And I said, no, because I'm studying, so I love going to school. But the problem is that I'm disadvantaged. I don't have somebody to take care of me. And he said, the only thing that I can help you with, my taxi parks here at the garage. I will allow you to sleep here 9 o'clock when I park my taxi here, and then at the morning I will come and fetch maybe 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And then that's how I got to have a shelter in a taxi, you know, living in a taxi. Every night I sleep on a taxi, every morning I wake up on a taxi, and he will give me 10 rand because I acted as a security of the taxi, you know. He will give me 10 rand, so I will take the 10 rand and buy something to eat. One day, when I was roaming around, I heard people singing at another house, and then I just got inside there. Getting inside, I saw people singing, very beautiful, you know. And then they asked me, did you come for an audition? Fortunately, they were holding auditions, so they thought that I came for an audition, you know. When I got there, I said, yes, I came for an audition. But the guy said, tell me about yourself, because I can see that you are enthusiastic. You're an enthusiastic guy. And then I told him about the pain of my story. I told him that I came here, I didn't come for an audition. I'm just roaming around because I don't have a place to sleep. And he said, no, I can make you sing. I see potential in you. I'm taking you. We'll see where you sleep. We'll maybe share my bed and stuff, but don't worry about that. And then that's how I got to run away from streets, because I was taken by a guy who was leading a group there to Mlazi.
Just when he thought he was rescued, his life took another turn, this time a dramatic one. This was when his school asked him to produce some form of document proving that he has no parents and therefore can no longer afford school fees.
So I was just there checking the document. While I was checking on the files, and then the brown envelope fell down. When I picked it up, it was written with big letters that I was raped and you were born. The funny part, I cried. But I asked myself, Stella, why are you crying? Because you haven't read the book, the letter, I mean. But in that time, you know what came in my mind? The answers of the question that I've never asked my mother. Because I used to ask my mother in a funny way, Mom, who is my father? And my mother would say, your father is Jesus. Every time I asked that question, my mother said, your father is Jesus. In a way that I stopped asking her, because she didn't give me the answer that I needed, you know, in a genuine way, you know. Maybe she thought that I was joking, or, you know. So I got an answer that, no, maybe this is the reason my mother failed to give me an answer. Let me just open the letter. I wiped my tears off. I opened the letter, and I got what I was expecting inside. The letter was written, my son, if you get this letter, I hope it's not late or early. But I want to tell you that the reason I failed to give you an answer about your father is because I was raped and you were conceived. I didn't have a way to tell you this. That's why I chose to write this letter, because I saw that I would die soon. So I need to leave this as your freedom, your emotional freedom.
Going through the letter revealed even more painful information.
The painful part on the letter was the part that said, the surname is not my surname, it's my stepfather's surname. So I don't know my surname, as I don't know your surname either, you know. So that broke me into pieces in a way that I didn't speak to anybody. I didn't go even to performances on the time. I didn't go. I found myself lonely, because I knew that they won't believe this. The other thing that was on the letter is, she said, on the 8th month, I tried to abort you. Because if I can show you something, you see my feet here. You see my feet? Can you see them? They are not ordinary, just like any other feet. Can you see them? So so I came out with my feet. You know, when she tried to abort me, I came out with my feet. But fortunately, they caught her. And then they avoided her on continuing with the process of aborting me. So they took her to the hospital, and then I was conceived early, prematurely. You know. So that's how the other parts that I found on the letter. You know. So that's where I combined 1 + 1. I got 2, because I look at myself. I checked that part where it said I came out with feet. And then I said, maybe that's why my feet are like this, you know, because I came out with my feet, you know. So that's the story. I got back and I asked for my sister's mother's address, the younger one. I went there. I showed her the letter. When I showed her the letter, first of all, she laughed and said, this is nonsense. But I know my mother's handwriting. It was my mother's handwriting. And she said, this is nonsense. She said, this is, you know, sorry to use that word, but it's what she said. And then I asked her, tell me, do you know anything about this? She cried. I asked her, why are you crying? And then she shouted at me. She teared the letter apart. She evicted me. And then I went. When I found out about her story, then I found it out that also she doesn't know her surname, as my mother didn't know her surname, because my grandmother got married with their stepmother. So they used their stepfather's surname. So because my grandmother didn't tell them their surname, it's their issue. I tried to forget, even though it was not easy. I convinced myself that I can forget about this thing. And then I continue, because music played a huge role in my life. The music that I was singing, I'll also use it to heal myself, you know, because the problem is that I had nobody to get answers from. We tried at church with my pastor to go around looking for answers, but we came to dead ends.
He went through some painful measures just to secure shelter.
One of the houses I lived in, I passed my grade 10 my grade 11. And the children of the house of the house I was living in, they failed their grade 11 when I passed my grade 11. In a way that the other neighbor saw that I've got potential, and he came to me and said, "Hey, how did you do at school?" And I told him that I passed my grade 11, and then he gave me 500 rands. And then I took this 500 rand, got back with it to this father of this house, and I told him that this guy gave me this money, so I'm giving it to you to be able to buy something to eat, because I cannot afford to buy anything here, but it's just an appreciation that because you are taking care of me. I didn't know that they were enemies, because in township people will fight over nothing, you know. I didn't know. And this guy got mad that I accepted money from his enemy. He thought I knew, but I didn't know. In a way that the other day he spit on my food. When I ate the food, I picked up a spit. And then he was, because I was sitting in this direction, and he was looking at me like this. And he said, "Loko kudla mekuwachitha, should uyahamba like ngoba should so right." I ate the spit because the reason that I ate the spit, if I didn't eat the spit, he was going to evict me, and I wouldn't have a chance to study for my matriculate, you know. So I ate the spit because I didn't want him to evict me while I was studying to do my matric, you know. So that was the painful part on living in the people's houses, you know.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to AM News live at 10:00 hours across all Central Africa regions.
A fitting send-off for a revolutionary giant, a life dedicated in service of the people.
The result means that the Swallows are out of the ABC Multiple League and drop to the amateur fourth tier of South African football, the SAB League.
Tune in on AM News every Saturday and Sunday from 10 hours.
We pump up your energy, keeping you in action through sports updates while resting at home. This is what's happening in your world of sport every weekend.
In the second half, Kolisi and Jaco Kriel combined well, and Kolisi scored his second try. He was also named man of the match.
Confusion from the West defenders gifted Patosi with a close-range goal.
I'll see that you touch the Pagante, it's 1-0! Cato City!
In the 10th round, he pinned a visibly fatigued McGregor on the ropes and hammered the Irishman before the referee stepped in to stop the bout.
He's a tough competitor.
He's a lot more experienced, especially in the layer.
Keep it locked on Sports Live every Saturday and Sunday at 20:30.
Through divine connection, Stella came across a lady who was willing to take him under her wing. She even encouraged him to tell his story through writing a book.
I met another lady called Tandazule Kumede through social media. She went way beyond of helping me and became a mother to me in a way that she gave me love that I've never expected, you know. In a way that I said, this person have gave me love in a way that I have courage to share my story. Because she said to me, Stella, because you cannot change the situation that you are a product of, right? Try to accept it. But you can change the fact that you grew up poor. So that's where I took this phrase that says, if you can't accept it, change it. If you cannot change it, accept it. So I decided to speak about or to write about this story this year, January.
What's meant to tell story? but ngabona ukuthi inkulu into ekulomfana engakwazi ukuthi ushintshe umphakathi, but udinga umuntu ozomsiza ozoba umama kuyena at the same time ebemsiza on business purposes, because udinga naye ukuthi aphile asize ingane zakubo akhumuzwa kuba asize impilo yakubo. So ngabona ukuthi uyadinga ukusizwa. Then by that time ngangakayivuli ngisho icompany, so ngase ngiyaqala sengivula icompany because kunamanye ama-artists as well.
The other reason that made me to write a book, there was this incident of women where they were abducted. This recently there was this scenario where women were abducted and killed, and I said, look, they even came up with a hashtag "Men are trash." It affected me as a man, and I said, women think that we don't bear their pain. Let me just share with the world the pain that I bear on behalf of women. You know, and I said, let me share the story of how I was conceived, to inspire women, to give hope to women, and also to advise women, because what I've seen through these scenarios, most women who were abducted are women who were dating wrong guys.
He tells us more about the book and why he called it I Was Raped and You Were Born.
I decided to call that because a lot of people, they take temporary decision. They take permanent decision out of temporary situation. So I said to my book, maybe I'm speaking to somebody who is having a rope in his hand. She wants to kill herself or you want to kill herself. I'm saying, please, just do me a favor. Just read about my story first. If my story is much lesser than your story, you may kill yourself.
Stelo has found even more healing through talks he delivers on different platforms.
Zonke lezi zinto engidlula kuzona belitshela ukuthi ziyangibulala ngikhala ngisadlula kuzona ngithi why mina ngideserve uphilo obuhlungu kanje, why mina ngideserve isikele esibuhlungu kanje, kanti angazi lezo zinto zizophungula lokho ungadingeki zizoshape lokho okudingekayo ezokunika lento efuna ukuba yiyona kusasa. Into yenza ukuthi kuthiwa khona isuit yali movie ecosta 75,000 is not ukuthi mhlambe ihlule ngamanye iprocess edlule kuyona ukuze ile usuit. So now here we are being processed to what we want to become. Mekuthiwa hlala uphume ngopassport uyastadisha isikere leso esibuhlungu esijabula inhliziyo yakho ukuthi nami ngiyafisa ukufana ezinye ingane ngiphume ngihambe ngiyodlala ngiyovakasha ngiphume ngihambe ngiyobona abangani, but angikwazi. Why? Because you are being processed to become a good product. An event that I will never forget is when I went to another school in Pietermaritzburg. I spoke there. There were government officials and police, because that school, it had problem of students, they are killing each other. I went there and I spoke. Wakhuluma ingane zonke zahamba zizobeka intsangu phansi zabeka immese phansi indlela yakhuluma ngakhona. I pleased the student to surrender any weapon that they are carrying, any drug they are carrying, because we are speaking about their lives. You would be surprised that the students, they came and brought their knives, they brought their hammers. Some were having hammers, some they were having, you will say, lot sharp materials, you know. Some they came, even women, they came with cards. They were playing cards at school. Some came with cigarettes, some came with dacha, some came with drugs, you know, the wonga and stuff. They brought it up front. And policemen were surprised that we come daily here to search, but we don't find anything. But you speak in 10 minutes, and you make a correction.
He may be changing people's lives, but has he practiced forgiveness?
My mother had a choice, a full choice of saying, I'm eliminating this because I was raped and I was conceived. I conceived him. But she chose to keep me after she was convinced not to abort. So I forgave her because she gave me a very expensive gift, life.
What would his reaction be if he was given a chance to meet his father?
First of all, I'll have to check if he paid the price of doing that, because that's a criminal offense, number one. To tell the truth, I don't have a problem. I've forgiven him. I won't be maybe angry and stuff. But the fact is, the justice must be served, first of all, because my mother died without justice being served. That's the truth. You know, I'm just speaking the truth. Maybe I'll just check if justice has been served. If the justice has been served, and then maybe he paid the price, and then I will check why he's coming back to tell me that he's my father, you know. Because now I'm not in need of anything. I'm okay. I've got people who played mother role and father role in my life up to this far.
He shares some of his dreams.
I'm also preparing to open an NPO that will go and make change into people who are orphans, people who are living in the streets. I also want to do a campaign where I go and sleep in the street for 3 days as a campaign to tell that street doesn't kill anybody. If you want to do better with your life, you can do better. You can do better, because if you say you don't success because you are living in the street, I can sleep in the street and have nothing that can kill me. So I want to do that campaign to inspire young people to change their mind.
Yona into ayisho esikoleni ukuthi buhle. Yabona mina mangabe uqeda isikole, angifuni ukuyofesa, angifuni ukuyosebenzela omunye umuntu. Mina want ukuthi ngiyisebenze mina. Ngithi mngani wami uzoyisebenza kanjani? Athi no, ngifuna ukuyisebenza mina, ngifuna create a job opportunity. Ngifuna ukubatshena abantu ukuthi no, kumele baphile kanje, bangakwazi ukwenza abafisa ukwenza.
I see him growing. I see him ekhuluma endaweni enkulu, because he can talk. He can talk. And uma ekhuluma akashiyi nje abantu engathi bengakhulumi, kube ngathi nje bekhuluma umuntu omdala. So ngibone ekhuluma endaweni enkulu, kuma corporate events, kuma parliamentaries, nje kuma government people. Ngibone ekhuluma even emasontweni, ngibone ekhuluma ezikoleni eGitzini West. So nje ngibone ukuthi usicelo if ke engahlonipha umhlaba, hlonipha uNkulunkulu.
Stelo, you're proof that being conceived by rape doesn't define who you are. It's not genes that make you, but it's how you've chosen to live your life. And for that, Bophelong salutes you.